Welcome to another episode of That's Some Crazy Shit with Kelly and James. My name is Kelly, and my co-host is my brother from another mother, Mr. James. What's up,
How's
dude?
it going, my friend?
It is going really well. I'm excited. I'm always excited when we have podcast guests, but you know, we've talked about ghosts in the past, my friend. And I said, God, you know, I would really like to talk to somebody who's like maybe done some ghost investigations. Yeah. And voila, we have somebody that actually owns a ghost investigation company.
Thank you, universe.
Yeah, thank you, universe. That's really cool because I know that's your thing. It's not my thing, but I would definitely say that ghost hunting equals crazy shit.
It does. And that's I don't know how many of our listeners know, but that was one of the catalysts that started the podcast. It was me having an encounter, you know? And so it is crazy shit. And then like it was funny because we were talking about it and we kept saying we wanted someone to come on and you know, here comes Rita. Yeah,
because we've talked to people who say they see ghosts, right? Yes. Communicate with ghosts, whatever, yes. You know, but we've never talked to anybody that, you know, is going on these investigations like all the time.
Right.
And so we are very, very happy and lucky and blessed to have Rita Olsen of AZ Ghost Adventures. She's going to come on and talk to us, James.
Well, let's do it then.
All right. Well, let's do it. Welcome to the podcast. Our guest today, Rita Olsen of AZ Ghost Adventures. Rita, thank you so much for being a part of That's Some Crazy Shit and coming on the podcast. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
So we've had people that say they can see ghosts, people that say they have talked to ghosts, people that have even been on ghost investigations. But I was telling James, I want to talk to somebody who runs the investigation, right? Because you probably see a lot of stuff.
I do. And the benefit is I have seen ghosts and I have talked to ghosts and I should say spirits, and I have been spoken to by spirits. And so I kind of feel like everything that's happened in my past has been a culmination leading up to this point with me having this company.
So I just got to ask you, you own this company. Like, how do you buy or start a ghost company? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, I was fortunate enough after moving to Arizona that there was a company and I started attending their investigations. And I was telling the previous owner these experiences that I've had. And, you know, you always kind of tread lightly because you don't want someone to think that you're a little
crazy.
Yeah. Actually, yes. Yeah. And as someone who works in healthcare, in mental health, yes, you're absolutely right. And so I was attending these investigations, and then I was attending more, and I was having a lot of paranormal activity happen around me at these investigations, so much so that when I started attending all of them as like an assistant investigator, and I would go out early. You always get to your sites early before your guests arrive, and I would go there early and do a walkthrough and have a sit down. And there were some areas of some places that I was drawn to, and it's like the spirits remember you. Or in my case, working in healthcare, they, you know, in hospitals, abandoned hospitals, they knew that you had that empathetic side to hearing them. So yeah, it just started rolling. And then the person who owned the company had to move and asked me if I was interested in buying it. And it was not even a second thought. It was, of course, I want to do this. So it's a lot of work. I mean, you want to make sure that you have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. Things like, you know, things that people don't think about, like business licenses and liability insurance and and equipment and having a budget and just making sure that it's an all around wonderful experience, yet safe experience for our guests that we have, because we do have some crazy shit happen. So.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Rita. A lot of our guests say kind of the same thing, that they're led to where they come to the point where they're at, where like they're interested in ghosts, or some people, they're just led down the path and they find out they're an empath or a psychic. I think it's interesting. I don't know if people make that connection, that I think they're brought to these things. They find their way to these things.
Yeah, I mean, I had a I don't talk about it too often, but I had a near-death experience when I was quite young. I was 7, and I had a pretty awful accident. And in talking to people who attend my investigations, I'm finding that a lot of them that have had paranormal experiences happening over a period of time have also had either death or near-death experiences. So we've really been looking into that, because what's the connection there? Did it, you hear about that veil. Did it somehow thin that veil that makes the spirit world just that much closer to you? And in fact, we were at one investigation at an old jail, and lo and behold, out of 20 people, 6 of us had, and we just started talking with each other, and it all came about that we had near-death experiences, or 2 of them actually had death experiences where they were brought back. And it's just like, well, that's odd.
It is an odd connection.
What's the connection with that? Yeah, because like I said, I've had experiences as far back as I can remember. 7's a pretty young age, and I didn't talk about it a lot, because you would see something or hear something, and if you talk about it, people will think you're crazy. It wasn't until about 20 years ago when the ghost shows, the paranormal shows, started becoming a thing on television, that it became more accepted. But even in this day and age, people kind of give you that sideways look. I mean, I'm really glad that I have that I've had a long professional career. So people know that I'm on the up and up. So when they hear me talking about this and can speak about it concisely, that then they are a little bit more intrigued, and it's a little bit more believable. So yeah, it's definitely interesting getting the message out.
So when people go on the investigations, do you find that people come for the entertainment value because they're skeptics and they want to be made believers? Or do you find that most people are coming who are believers, who are just maybe looking for some answers or whatever, confirmation?
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful question. Someone posed me that question not too long ago. Do you consider yourself a historian? Because we do go into the historical background of the locations we're at. They said, are you a historian? Are you an entertainer? And I said, I know it's not about that. It's about the experience. Everyone has a different experience, and it's never my place to judge that experience. We all feel things differently. We do have people that come and they are true believers, and they will, and like myself, they can go to the same place multiple times and have different experiences. I do believe that the spirit's there. They get to know you. They get to trust you. Just, they were people before. They have the same type of emotional background that we have. We do have some people that come in and they're skeptics, and I think skepticism, hard word, that's a good thing to have. That's very healthy to be skeptic.
Yes.
You don't want to believe everything that is put in front of you, especially in the paranormal world. But we've had a few. In fact, I was on the phone with a photographer that had wanted to come to some of our locations, and he came out and was super excited about photographing these historical locations, but said, I'm a skeptic. I don't believe in these things. I said, that's okay. I mean, I'm happy to have a photographer to take some wonderful pictures for us.
Right.
By the end of the evening, he was like, holy cow. I can't believe what I've experienced tonight. And then these are things that he caught with photographic evidence also. And it's nice. It's nice when you have someone come in and they say they're a skeptic, and that's fair enough. My job is not to change anybody's mind. My job is to allow you to have whatever experience that you are open to having. I can't make it happen. I can't make it not happen. That's up to the spirits and the location and the person who's attending. And we've had some people that are very far and few between that are so skeptical that they might be a little, maybe, why are you on this with us? But
right.
Yeah. But but I think enough people know about our business and the level of investigating that we do, that they don't come for the entertainment. It's serious. So
how do you pick your sites? How do you know where to go? And my other question is, like, people will say, well, we go to an old warehouse or we go to an old hospital. And my thing is, what's from stopping people from going without you? Do you know what I mean?
Well, the police.
Gotcha. Okay. So you have permission to go to these places?
Yeah, we have contracts. We have contracts with the locations that we go to, and we legally rent them from the owners. We have to carry things like liability insurance and a license to also go into these locations. Some of the locations we go into are not open to the public for public investigations. We will be conducting one very soon at the Arts Building, which is the old courthouse in Globe, Arizona, and it's right next to the jail that we do investigate with groups. So it's and we never promote that someone just go somewhere that's abandoned or private property on their own. I mean, we're on the up and up about it. And again, we want people to be safe too. So we fortunately, when I bought the company, we had a list of locations, and it's just getting out there and talking to businesses and talking to people. We do have some locations that we do privately. We don't take groups there. And fortunate enough, I happen to live right on the Tonto Forest here, the Tonto National Forest in Arizona. And there's a location near me that is quite active, so I can hop in my car and be there in 10 minutes. We have a lot of old Hohokam tribal land in the area that I live in.
So is the forest haunted?
It is, yeah.
Something about haunted forest.
Yeah. And I like what you said earlier, Rita, how you have the skeptics and how you have photographic proof. Kelly and I have talked about this so much. People will not believe this stuff unless they have the quote unquote proof. And even then, you could show them a photograph or something, and they still won't believe it sometimes. But I like the way that you're gathering proof and information so that you can back these up.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, unfortunately, we can't have a camera everywhere all of the time. We're not a large television show that can invest $100,000 into equipment. So yeah, it's a little disheartening when you get people that you have, multiple pictures in a row showing something, and then people are like, well, why don't you have video evidence? Well, I only have so many cameras, and sometimes things just happen that you don't expect to happen. But as we grow, we're doing more. We're actually quite lucky because we recently, without giving away too much, we recently filmed with one of the national shows. And it was a location where I had quite a bit of evidence, and both video, audio, and photographic. And for them to look at my evidence and say, wow, that is probably some of the best evidence we've ever seen. And then to go to the location and have and be told that this is probably one of the most active locations we've ever been to, that's a pretty nice thing to hear.
That's exciting.
It kind of like just pushes those naysayers.
Yeah, that's big.
Naysayers. And you know what? But honestly, it's kind of a good thing to have naysayers because it keeps you on your toes.
Right.
I don't ever want to get lazy about what I put out there, and it makes me think about, okay, how can we make ourselves better? Because again, it's the experience that our guests, we call them our guest investigators. It's an interactive investigation. Our guests have equipment just like we do, and they're investigating right alongside. We show them how to use it. They're investigating right alongside us, and then they have opportunity before the investigation ends to do their own independent investigating.
So let me ask you a question before you, because that just makes me think of something. As somebody who's never gone on a ghost investigation, right? And let's say that I booked to go on an investigation with your company. As somebody who's never been, who has no expectations, what should I expect? As far as like what's going to happen, like you're going to give me equipment, you're going to show me how to use it. What should I expect?
I thought you meant paranormal.
No, as far as I know, you can't tell me that, but as far as like what do you do to help me have a good experience?
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful question. We go through an introduction when the people first get there. Of course, we do our housekeeping, going about, what's allowed in the building, what's not allowed in the building, and what the itinerary will be. And then we go through the equipment and show you what the equipment is and how it works, how not to use it, because a lot of the equipment, even the simplest things like the K2 meters, if you have your phone nearby, you're going to get a false reading, and we don't want that to happen. We don't want anyone to have false ideas about what's happening on our investigations. So we explain all the equipment to them, and we let them know also that we've gone through the buildings beforehand, and we put out trigger objects that we like to use. Like when we're at a school, we may have out some dolls or some books or whatever over the years that I have found it gets the best response at those locations. I also bring gifts every time I go to a location. I wouldn't go to someone's house without a gift. So, and to the spirits, that's their home. I always tell them, this is your home. I'm just a guest. So we bring things that the spirits might like candy or whiskey or cigars that stay wrapped, or at the jail, cigarettes, things like that. And I find that our responses are heightened when we do that. And it truly we're not just throwing things out there. It truly comes from, I think a lot of what happens to us comes from our intent. So our intent truly is to say, thank you for allowing us in your home. We understand this is your home. We'll be respectful, and we've brought these gifts for you. And so the people know that when they're going through the buildings, that things will be set out, and that's why we've set those things out. And people, I would have to say, usually if someone's come on an investigation, they've seen a ghost show or two. And so they kind of have in their mind what they would like to use. A lot of people like to use dowsing rods. I give them a brief educational way to use those. Honestly, the dowsing rods are one of my favorite pieces of equipment. And, it's historically, they go back very far, and you're not getting that chance of electronic interference or anything like that. And in fact, I was using the dowsing rods when we were filming with this show the other day, and they were having quite a bit of activity outside at their equipment table. And the equipment manager was like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And I said, this is what happens here. And I asked him if I could go over to the table with my dowsing rods. And they were they were pushing against each other so hard that you could actually hear them grinding in the video, the copper grinding against each other. So paranormal investigators tend to have their own preferences, what they like to use. And for me, one of my favorite things is the dowsing rods. But getting back to your question, I'm sorry, it was like squirrel. We educate, and if someone hasn't used a piece of equipment, it's at that point that they could say, oh, I'd love to try this. And the great thing is throughout the evening, they can try different pieces of equipment. We try to have enough on hand so people can get a good experience using different things.
That's interesting. We had a guest that talked about dowsing rods.
Mm-hmm.
And he used it to find water and stuff. And I had actually been on an investigation where they had K2 meters and FLIR and stuff. And I was excited to try the dowsing rods. And we actually had pretty good response with yes and no questions. And we asked how many spirits there were to tap. And I was excited. And I even actually got some dowsing rods for Christmas. So I'm excited.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing. And it's the simplest things that you can get a wonderful response from. So yeah, and I mean, and we go from, the simplest thing like a dowsing rod all the way up to the SLS cameras and the portals. And the SLS cameras are the cameras that show the stick figures. And the portals are the boxes that are, they assist the spirits in speaking to you through, electronic feedback. One of the things that we have been having a lot of luck with are SD sessions. And that is where one person is sensory deprived. So they'll have on noise canceling headphones and they'll have an iPad on. They can't see anything and they can't hear anything. And then we have the spirit box connected to that. And so all they can hear is what's coming through on the spirit box. They cannot hear the questions that I'm asking. And it can be pretty amazing. We record these, of course, full-blown conversations, and the person can be down the hall from me. And I'll ask a question and they'll make a response. And we have 2 locations where it's 3. I take that back. 3 locations where it's pretty intense. Some of the sessions that we've had, and we allow our guests to do that. To have the headgear on and to try it. Again, if it seems like it's getting really intense, I'll stop it because the safety of our guests is what's most important. But yeah, we've had some pretty great sessions with that.
Well, I've seen it done, and that is pretty, especially when they're answering and it's relative to what you're speaking about, and it all goes together. Then it's like that is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Have you ever come across any sites with any malevolent or not so kind spirits or ghosts?
Absolutely.
And are those places that you still investigate, or do you choose not to?
No, there's still locations that I investigate because you can have a blend of spirits at sites. The one that we were just filming at, actually, someone was scratched down in the basement. And I had warned them. I had said, hey, listen, the spirit down in the basement here, it's got sociopathic tendencies. It used to yell and scream at me and cuss me out, call me every dirty name in the book. And then when it realized that I wasn't bending to that just wasn't going to intimidate me, then it started, being very charismatic to me. And you could tell the voices would change on the equipment that we were using. And I gave the crew a heads up that it doesn't like men, and it could be quite dangerous. And sure enough, someone got scratched down there. And we always do a cleansing afterwards. We have an empath that we work with, and so we do our prayers and our cleansing afterwards, and we offer that up for our guests also, just to not only a cleansing prayer, but a prayer for Saint Christopher to to get him safely home. He's a patron saint of traveling, and some of these people travel for several hours to get to us. But we, you learn, and you don't poke the bear.
Right.
So we don't allow anyone to try to do that. So there's a different, and I, even the benevolent spirits, I tell, this is your home. Again, thank you for allowing me here, and thank you for communicating with me. I'm just a guest here. And I have found that you get much more activity with that than with trying to instigate. In fact, I one time was instigating at one of our locations at a jail, and something followed me home, something attached to me. And I've had spirits in my house all my life. I'm used to seeing things and having things move and having things happen. But when you see someone who doesn't belong there, that's a whole different story. So I heed my own warning now very well. But yeah, we don't allow people to do that on our investigations.
You know what I like too, Rita, is I've been on a few investigations, and some of them they take it really lightly. Like you said, you don't poke the bear. And I've gone in investigations where they don't say any kind of cleansing or protection, prayer or spell, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, those make me nervous because, I always walk off to the side if I'm on one of these and do my own little thing. But, people need to take this seriously. I like the way you said, you don't poke the bear,
You don't, what they call provoking. You don't provoke. Yeah. It's, we had one time where, we have video, things were literally falling off of shelves. And It's like, okay, I get it. I'm here learning a story. And I told a lot of the spirits that my job here is to learn your story and tell it. And that's about all I can do, is to try to get the story forward. I truly feel that's why my path has led me to doing this. But no, we don't provoke.
Do you consider yourself an empath?
I don't consider myself an empath. I consider myself intuitive. Like I said, I think people have things happen that thin that veil. I have had premonitory dreams. I have seen shadow figures. I have seen full-bodied apparitions. I've had, the whole poltergeist type activity happening. Even where I live now, I have a lot of things happening, and it's just, and it's hard when I would never call myself a medium. I don't sit down and look at you and say, I see your family members. I don't have that ability. But I think that things come to me. The whole premonition thing is weird. I don't know where that falls into, because it's not all the time. But everything else, I just say I'm intuitive. I'll be at an investigation site and we'll be doing something, and then a story will come to me about whoever it is that we're having come through, and that story will come to me, and I'll start talking about it, and then the activity will increase. So a sensitive of sorts, but definitely not a medium.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, learn more about AZ Ghost Adventures, how do they do that?
Well, they can visit. We have 2 Facebook sites. We have AZ Ghost Adventures, and then we also have AZ Ghost Adventures Evidence and Discussion, because on the Evidence and Discussion, that's where people can openly post things and, have conversations. We encourage conversations about anything paranormal. Because who are we to say that, UFOs, well, they do fall in the realm of paranormal, because paranormal just means is just something that goes alongside.
Yeah.
Right.
So paranormal is not spirits only. Paranormal is just something that, runs alongside our normal world.
Yep.
Bigfoot, I don't know too much about Bigfoot.
I'm your man.
You should have never mentioned Bigfoot. Never mentioned Bigfoot, Rita, with James around. It's a whole nother discussion.
I used to live in the foothills of Mount Rainier, so we were pretty far out there. And I'm like, we'd go out camping or go for mountain rides, and it's like I'm going to see Bigfoot one of these days.
If you do, come back on and tell us.
Yeah. Is there a website?
Yes, azghostadventures.com. And our email is azghostadventures@gmail.com. So we're keeping it simple. And so it's all the same. You can find us under the same name for everything. And we are in the process of putting together our YouTube channel, which we hopefully will have out by the end of the first quarter. And then I would love, my big goal is to have a podcast of my own, hopefully within the next year. So
nice. Well, we wish you all the best. Rita, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing with us. It's absolutely fascinating. You are welcome. And you are welcome to come back anytime you'd like. Like when you get that new podcast launch, come back on and we'll help you promote it.
Well, and I actually, I was talking with my daughter-in-law. She is one of our investigators, and she's an ordained minister, and she studies divinations and different ways of communicating with the spirits. And that's been a passion of hers for a while. So yes, I think that would be a wonderful topic to discuss, different ways to communicate with the spirits.
Absolutely. So yeah, I can't wait to have you come back. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you guys.
It's funny how that worked out, Cal. You know, we talked about having an investigator. Rita comes on, she drops all this knowledge on us. You know, it's crazy. Even she said her reluctance to come out and talk about this because people would think, what? She was crazy.
Right. And then just, it's like, how do you even own a ghost investigation company? I mean, she bought hers from somebody, right? The opportunity came for her to actually purchase it. But I mean, that's not something that you think about buying every day.
No, and it's something that's not available, you would think. I don't know, maybe it was at the time. You know what? When we have her back on, we should ask her about the previous owner and why they sold it. Yeah.
It's interesting how you even get that set up, how you even start a ghost investigation company. I think that's a true entrepreneur right there.
That is because it's very niche-ish.
It really is. It really is. So I'm glad that we finally got to talk to somebody like that. Woohoo! But you told me to remind you about an app. What? And you said you were going to talk about it for Random Bullshit. So this is the Random Bullshit segment of the podcast, people. And James, you had said remind you of a weird app.
Yeah. Okay.
Like an app for your phone?
Yeah, an app for your phone. And I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's Random Nodding. RANDONAUTING.
Okay.
And I had heard about this, on the internet and things. So you get this app, and what it does is it takes your location, and then it generates these random locations around you that you use your GPS to go to.
Okay.
Now there's some crazy stuff linked to some of these stories. Okay. Some of the things I've seen on YouTube is this guy takes him in the middle of fucking some forest. There's this car sitting in the middle of this fucking forest. Okay. And like he starts hearing voices and all this shit. Okay. There's other things where people have gone and seen quote unquote ghosts. They found dead bodies. Okay. So when my cousins came to visit, he told me, he brought it up. He reminded he had it. Okay. And this is funny. Says, yeah, primo, you remember the cousins, Omar and
I remember the cousins.
Yeah. So he's, download it and all this stuff. So I download it and I'm like, And we were talking about it, and I said, well, have you ever done it? He's like, hell no. But he wants me to do it, you know? So, yeah, it's crazy. So I haven't done it, but I think it's interesting. It's like, they, you know, it's supposed to be just randomly generated, but how are they finding these weird locations where there's this car that's in the middle of nowhere and this guy hears voices? You know,
okay, so
look it up.
So wait a minute. So wait a minute. Time out. So you mean to tell me, I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. So stay with me here.
I got you.
You mean to tell me that you have an app on your phone
Yes.
called Random Naughty or whatever the hell it's called?
Yes.
That just generates locations around you within an X mile radius.
Yes.
And then you're supposed to go to these locations and do what?
Well, that's the thing. You're just supposed to go there. They don't tell you what's there. You know, it's just like I don't know what you would call it. It's like an adventure or something. You go out and I don't know what you would call it. But like I said, these weird fucking things come up, you know, and it's like people are saying, you know, they're putting it's random, quote unquote random, but then it goes out into the ether, and then it picks out these things, you know, these locations where maybe there was a death that they reported 70 years ago in a newspaper, you know, so it's bringing that story, location, everything through the ether and giving it to you, where then you go to the site or something. I mean, it's just crazy. See, that's crazy shit.
That is crazy shit. I'm not doing that shit.
Bodies, yeah, you find dead. Hey, Kel, let's go check this out. We go out when there's a fucking dead body or something.
Well, it never happened because I'm not downloading some random weird ass app on my phone that's going to send me to a random place where who knows what the hell's going to happen. I'm already scary. I don't need this shit too, James. What are you doing to me? What?
Well, see, you're always the voice of reason. So where were you before I loaded the damn app?
So now can't you just delete the app from your phone?
It's too late now. I have to try it.
Oh, well, good luck, brother. You're going to have to let me know how that goes.
Yeah, you know? I've been pondering this. You know what? I might have to go and I'll have it on the phone. And you can go with me on the phone. We'll do like a
okay, we can do it that way. I'll go with you on the phone.
And then if something happens, you can like see and help
for
me.
A little while until your phone
goes, it drops.
Yeah, and all I hear is, you know. So, you know, I'm just saying. Yeah. So for anybody who wants the app, say it again, James.
I'm not sure how you say it. Randonautica or something?
But say it. Spell it.
RANDONAUTING. How would you pronounce that?
Rando
nodding.
Like random routing almost. But rando nodding. Well, good luck.
Okay, well, so yeah, here, let me just real quick about it. It says set your radius, so you have a radius. Anomalies. Choosing an anomaly will run an algorithm over your radius.
What are your anomaly choices? What do you get to choose from?
Well, let's see. Oh, you have to go in and tell you what it is. But one looked like it said blind spots, quantum pseudo.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
No, well, you go to a blind spot and you go to the quantum pseudo and you let me know how it is. That can be another episode of random bullshit because I'm not going with you because that sounds like some bullshit.
Hey, you wanted random? I gave it to you.
Yeah, so you can go see all of our past episodes on our website, which is www.thatsomecrazyshitpodcast.com. That will link you to all of our social media and all past episodes.
And I want to also throw out there, if you don't already know, listeners, we are on Amazon Music and Audible. Is that correct?
Woohoo! We are big time.
Yeah, we're getting there, people.
Yeah, so
pretty soon.
We're on all the biggie platforms, Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon Music. So, anywhere that you get a podcast, you can pick up That's Some Crazy Shit. Tell a friend. Tell two.
Yeah, tell a bunch of them.
Well, James.
You remember that old commercial when they had the shampoo? You tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and so on. And they show all the women multiplying.
And some people are like, what the fuck is he talking about? You're talking...
Sorry.
You're talking circa like 1976.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, if you don't know, wow.
Sorry, listeners.
That's okay. Well, James, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Always a pleasure. Next week we have another riveting episode with another riveting guest.
And more random bullshit.
And we'll see if James goes out on his random whatever, and we'll see what it is. That's weird.
It's gonna, be a trip like if I went out and I got sucked into a portal and then came out at Skinwalker Ranch.
Okay. All right, that's all for now. Then I can see where we're going. All right, James.
Keep your minds open, people.
I didn't mean to do that. Hold on. I meant to stop.